What's up, ODC? It's your boy, Big Rusey. I'm bringing you the 2018 ODC World Series. We got the Mets, my boy, Junkyard Jack. We got the Houston Astros, my boy, Catfish Max. And it's gonna be a bloodbath. All jokes aside. Let me get that shitty ass music off. What's up, everybody? It's Big Ruse bringing you another ODC Ramblings, but this is the World Series edition. We got the Mets coming in at 165, 103, and 26. GM Junkyard Jack, you know he's peddling nothing for something at all times. And then we got my other boy, the man who rose from the ashes to have one of the most dominant teams in ODC, Catfish Max. 198, 79, and 17. Damn good record. Looks like this year we got another interesting World Series. No blue bloods or whatnot really in the World Series, but nonetheless, it should be a nice little 2 weeks of fantasy baseball to end out the year. Another good year in ODC. So we're going to break down the teams a little bit, and I got a little bit of notes on these guys. The Mets defeated the Cubs in the NLCS. Their key batters are going to be Alex Bregman, real nice year all around. Michael Conforto, a little bit down in the average department, but still good pop in the bat. Max Muncy, huge surprise for the Dodgers in real life this year, but also a huge surprise for the Mets. Robinson Cano is back. Suspension's up. So, I mean, it's definitely a good batter to have in your lineup. And I know it's had to give the Mets a little bit of a boost. So, pretty nice lineup. Also, Carlos Santana, for what it's worth, another good power hitter. He's got a few key pitchers, be Fulte, Wheeler, Gosman in the starting department. I mean, the Mets are kind of weak in the bullpen department. Not much in the way of saves and holds, but they got a little something. I think they're probably just looking to eke those cats out. Decent starting rotation, obviously. Some good back end guys and a good, strong hitting core. So his team's looking pretty good this year. And then you got the Astros, who defeated the Tigers in the ALCS, which was a very close match, if I remember right. Their key batters are going to be Buster Posey, Eazy-E, Edwin Encarnacion, Goldie, Baez, Judge, Betts. I mean, this team is so deep on offense, it's pretty insane. The key pitchers are obviously going to be Corbin, who's had a lights-out year, Arrieta and Fires. The strength of the team is definitely in the bats and the pen. The pin's insane. The bats are deep. The bats are really good. But where I think the Astros' weakness is really in the starting pitching department. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, it's not bad, but it's definitely, if you had to pick a weakness of the team, that's where it would be at. Going over that a little bit though. With that being said, you're hearing it here. My prediction is an Astros 9-5. W. I just think 1 week World Series, the Mets had a little bit better of a chance, but in a 2 week series, it's the depth will prevail probably. But you never know. It's a crazy thing, this fantasy baseball that we play, and there's been huge upsets in the past. So maybe Jack can do it one more time. I'm personally rooting for him, but let's get a little bit more into what made these teams. I picked out a few transactions that I thought have kind of shows you what they did to get to where they're at. And so this one, January 1st, 2018, Mets trade Robbie Cano, or Mets get Robbie Cano, and $16 million. And they sent Ian Kinsler, who was on kind of a down year this year, in a third and a fifth. So, you know, Cano's contract is obviously terrible, but a good bat is second nonetheless. And then this is little Conforto trade where the Red Sox got Nelly Cruz and they paid a little bit of cash. Trevor Gott, Jared Dyson, some dudes that really aren't contributing at all, but other than Cruz. But he got Conforto back in the deal. He's kind of a streaky guy, but obviously been a strong option for the Mets. Then you got the Zach Wheeler trade, which he has really good numbers this year. I hadn't noticed how well he had been doing, but I mean, giving up only Vogelbach and McKinney. I mean, are those guys ever going to be major league players? Who knows? And I know Wheeler's had an injury past, but it's been good this year, so it's working out for the Mets. And then the big one, Fulte for Gurriel, who I just can't seem to fucking get rid of. Anybody wants him, you know who to hit up. Gets rid of Gurriel and gets Fulte here, which has turned out huge. I mean, the guy's just thrashing. Where's his team? So 170 innings, 188 Ks, 290 ERA. I mean, yeah, the guy's been balling out. So that's obviously turned out well for the Mets. And then the Astros have had many a trade. And actually one with the Mets, which kind of coincides with each other. But the Mets traded Mookie Betts and Chris Davis and Jeremy Hellickson for Trumbo, Burrito, Faria, and Bregman. Bregman being like a MVP candidate this year going to the Mets, and Mookie Betts, who's also an MVP candidate, going to the Astros. So kind of like I don't know if they needed like certain positions at the time, but pretty much a straight across deal. I mean, I like what the Mets got a little bit better because of Barreto, and Trumbo's not useless. And got some picks and shit, but I mean, Mookie obviously crushes, so can't blame a guy for getting him. So that's where the Astros Mookie Betts comes from, and then another interesting trade, getting Arrieta, who, I mean, the money's insane, but only giving up specs in the deal, none of which other than Rooker I'm real familiar with. And then a couple of starting pitchers, but still kind of a proven veteran to help his team to the championship. And then you got, probably the guy I miss the most from being the A's is Aaron Judge. And you see Sully Matias and a couple other guys going to the Red Sox, and Royals really making out with a litany of guys here. I mean, Robles, Luis Robert, Austin Meadows. Those are guys every one of us is familiar with, getting the first in that deal. Great deal for the Royals. But, I mean, getting a huge, huge guy for the Astros. I know he's been hurt lately, but, I mean, this guy's a huge bat. Definitely a great ball player. Then you got this monstrosity of a deal where they got Javier Baez, who's just been an absolute monster this year. D. Gordon, who hasn't been as good this year, but is usually a pretty steady guy, and some arms to kind of fill out that rotation. I mean, they gave up Keuchel and Archer and Pilar and Garcia, but I mean, those are all guys that are a little bit less on the quality scale than I think Baez is. So, just some interesting moves. I mean, he's had a lot of interesting moves. Here's where I got Posey, Scooter Gennett for Josh Donaldson. I mean, that trade's looking lights out Louis for the Astros right now. And then you have just another kind of interesting one. Cabrera going to the White Sox, a first from the Astros going here to the Red Sox, and then him picking up Easy and Profar, who's been, I think, a little bit surprising on how well he's played for how much of a disappointment he's been. So just like some real interesting moves. I mean, Max definitely had the flashy ones. Um, Looks like he kind of just threw the team together real quick, and then Jack just slowly junked his way, just cobbled together piles of trash until one day it became the monstrosity that is the New York Mets. But it should be a good series, guys. I think it's gonna be a shit talking shit fest, but that's what I love about the World Series in here. Real interesting. We'll take a look at how the matchup's going real quick. I haven't really looked at it yet, but right now we got the Astros up 7-6-1. So this is a really close game. Um, the Mets are looking kind of behind right now on strikeouts. No way to tell on ERA because it's going to be 2 weeks. I mean, no way to tell on really any other cats, but excuse me. The saves are looking. I think saves is going to be something that the Astros just automatically win. Um, Holds are in the Mets' favor for now. That pin's gonna be what really kind of anchors down the World Series to me. Like the starters, I think the Mets could wash with the Astros in the starting, like stacking up Ks, ERA, WHIP, quality starts, wins. But I think saves and holds where Max has a big advantage, and which would give you the 9-5 because I think the Astros could win every hitting category. It just depends though, because like if Bregman heats up, and Muncy is obviously capable of crushing, so is Santana and Cano. All those guys have the capability of keeping up with the Astros offense. So I think most of the offensive categories are going to be close. 100 points behind an OBP right now. That's insane. Other than that, I think the 2 week World Series is kind of crazy to me. I don't know how long we've been doing it like that, but it's the first year I've noticed about it because it's my first year back. Um, it definitely adds a new dimension to it. The deeper team is gonna definitely have a better shot. I know that's what killed me in my World Series losses was not having the depth to keep up with Syke and keep up with Hemmons teams of those days. But if you catch fire, you can beat anybody. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's gonna be really interesting. I'm super excited to see who comes out and gets to talk shit for a whole year. Um, Other than that, we'll just go over a little bit of trade review and maybe like a little rules discussion kind of towards the end. Um, let's check the trade review. I've seen a couple interesting ones in here. Bubba Starling finally goes to where's Bubba Starling? Thank God. Uh, this one's pretty interesting. Matthias and Nisner and the Phillies' first round pick in 2020 going for Charlie Morton, who had kind of a renaissance with the Astros. I think that's a pretty good return for Morton because he's on a pretty short deal. I don't know his numbers right off the top of my head. I know Matthias has got Babe Ruth power, but he hits like one out of every 80 balls. Um, yeah, Morton had a real good year this year. 195 strikeouts in 163 innings. That's pretty nice. 28 games started. 1.1 whip. Yeah, he's a nice little pitcher, but on a shorter term deal for what I think will be like a later, mid to late round first. Maybe even, yeah, you never know with the crazy rules they got now. Could be the first overall pick. Uh, um, pretty overall fair deal. I mean, I like the this side for the Phillies because he's trying to compete right now, and the Astros is definitely gonna want to pick up like a little bit of more building for the future pieces. Not that he needs to rebuild, just it's nice to get some pieces to for the future rebuild. Um, okay, that blew my mind. Is Jeff becoming in the Astros? Maybe he's high and thought he was in Central. Then we got let's see, Tampa Bay, St. Louis, and you got Danny Duffy, local guy for me. Um, Rhodys Vizcaino, and then you got Miguel Amaya, a nice catcher prospect. You got Jordan Sheffield, whatever he ends up being. I don't have a ton of faith in him, but people who know much more about baseball than I do. And then this guy Magnarius Sierra, who I'm semi familiar with, but I'm not sure how he did this year. He's been mainly hot dog shit in the major league level, but uh, Duffy's an interesting guy. He's another one of those. He's like the pitching Conforto. Like he'll be lights out for a few months, and then you'll think he never played baseball in his life for a month after that. And so for him, Amaya's kind of grown on me after hearing a few podcasts talking about his character and how he's starting to. I mean, stats wise, how he's really come around to start hitting. So nice little deal for the Rays, I think. Still a good deal for the Cardinals. I mean, all these pieces are gonna help him compete, and he's starting to have a really, really nice team. Um, and I'm sure you're familiar with that if you've, scouted out any of your competition in this league. No way to go by the Cardinals without thinking, nice little team at least. We got Hamels going for um, not much, but I mean he's kind of fallen fallen from his former glory, but a decent veteran pitcher, decent for the Cubs, provide them with a back end to go with their frontline guys. Um, Dane Dunning, Edmundo Sosa, Rule 5 draft from me. Grayson Rodriguez going for Jose Quintana and Mark Reynolds. I can't believe Mark Reynolds is still playing in the league. Quintana is definitely he's a bounce back candidate for sure, but he was very disappointing this year. I know for the Cubs, but Grayson Rodriguez had a big arm. It's too bad he got drafted by the Orioles. Career dead. Um, this guy is young and you know he'll never be on the top 100 specs, but he looked good whenever I drafted him in Rule 5. Dunning's a nice pitching prospect. Overall, a good deal for both teams again because it's just two teams going different ways and getting stuff that will help them in the future for what they're trying to do. Then we got New York getting Tyler Molly and Toronto getting Trevor Williams, who I'm not familiar with. Seamus Curran. I mean, that fits right in Sanders' minor league section with his litany of weird names. A couple picks. Um, I'm not super familiar with any of the players in this deal. Molly had 110 strikeouts and 112 innings, 23 starts. Not bad. I mean I don't like that he pitches in Cincinnati, but it's not a bad guy to go at the end of a staff. Definitely is good for the Yankees as they look to compete next year. I think for sure. Trevor Williams. Oh, another nice starter, Pittsburgh guy. His K numbers aren't as good. He's kind of a innings eater. I mean, he had great FIP. He's kind of a guy to fill out your rotation with. I'm not sure what the contracts are like here. This is posted shittily, unless they're both just for 1 year. Definitely Garcia for a pig. Not much to say there. Um, I really liked this trade for the A's as Castellanos is pretty good, pretty nice player. I mean, he's got only year 5 and 6 left, so I can definitely understand why he moved him. I just don't know what to think about Derek Rodriguez. He's obviously had nice numbers this year, but hard to tell if he's going to keep that up. Same thing with Duggar. Um, I know when I was in talks with the A's and I looked at this guy, I wasn't like, damn, I need that guy. But it's definitely a nice couple little pieces for the Tigers to keep building up on the base they've been kind of expanded on. And then Castellanos is probably one of the best batters automatically on the A's. So it's a cool little deal for both teams. I like it a little more for the A's, but if the Tigers is happy, that's cool. I mean, this guy's been good this year, so if he can keep this up, I mean, it's a good deal both ways. So more above a Starling trading. Um, Jay Bruce for a seventh. Um, I know all Mets fans want to run Jay Bruce out of town, but it's a nice deal for Sykes, so he can kind of compete for the first overall pick. Uh, this is just cash for picks. This is another super boring trade. Giants send Caprellian, Nabel, and some Rule 5 picks and Miguel Cabrera's contract for point 0.1 mil. It's a lot to give up to get rid of a guy, but Miguel's contract is just awful. It's the worst thing in fantasy sports, other than Brian. And I mean, yeah, you had to do something to get rid of that contract. It's just awful. Um, I mean, even with him amnestying this, he's still eating 5 mil, 6 mil, 2.5 mil. I mean, he's still eating like 13 million with an amnesty. So that's how bad that contract is. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Cabrera. I mean, great reliever and interesting younger pitcher. So I see why the Dodgers did it for sure. Because if you thought, you would buy these guys for how much you're paying over the amnesty, it's definitely worth it. And they don't give anything to get it. So um, it's a win for the Giants because Cabrera's contract off your shoulders has got to be the most refreshing shit possible. And it's a win for the Dodgers because they get something for nothing. And other than their amnesty. So I like the deal. Who else we got? Giants, Padres, Wilson Ramos, Taylor Cole, Joe Ross, Jonathan Holder. I'm not familiar with Mejia or Holder. Joe Ross has always been a kind of back endish starter, as far as I know, and Ramos has kind of always been injured. It's just kind of some. We'll see. I probably am talking out my. I know Wilson Ramos has been good in the past, but yeah, he was had a nice little 2018 for sure. Um, if he keeps that up, it's definitely a deal that is very interesting for the Giants. Um, Joe Ross didn't do much this year. I don't know if he was injured or if he was just down. Holder was a nice relief pitcher. I don't know his hold numbers, but with the last name, I'm assuming he's getting them. Um, he's got a nice ERA and almost strikes out a batter an inning. Uh, Plus 1 year of Wilson Ramos. I mean, decent return. Rule 5 pick trading. Rule 5 pick trading. Guys I don't know much about. Let's see. This one's another interesting one. Oakland getting Pham. White Sox getting Grichuk and Eflin and Gant. Um, Back end guys for Mike, who he keeps trading later on. Decent bat for a guy that's got a decent bat. Nothing crazy in the trades. This one was interesting. Brad Hand for a pretty nice Rule 5 pick, and then the 30th pick in the amateur draft. I know Adam Hall was kind of a prospect in the past. I'm not sure how he's been doing lately, but it seems like a lot for a reliever. But Hand's definitely one of the best. And in my personal opinion, it's time for Natty to go for it. But you know how he do. I think his team is going to be really, really strong going forward. Um, this was a nice little trade for the Rays. Um, I'm just not a fan of Hayward in fantasy, and I know a lot of guys like Baz, and I'm not sure on the Polonius Bros, but I know Polanco's pretty decent outfielder, so nice piece for Forbes to either use to compete for the first pick with or compete for the playoff with. That trade avoided. Um, I thought this was pretty nice get for the Twins, getting Davies and Yates for Nelly Cruz. Cruz is a masher for sure, but it's gonna be pieces that are gonna be around in the future that are. I know Davies had a down year, but he's been interesting in the past. Um, I mean, I think this is just a great deal for the Phillies. Let's see. Yeah, I mean the average is bad on smoke, but the OBP is still good. He's still OPSing good. He's a masher. I mean, he's gonna hit home runs, and for a Rule 5 pick, that seems like a pretty good deal. I know Noah wanted to shed the cap, so I mean it's definitely a win for him too. But I just don't think that the Rule 5s are going. I think the Rule 5s are going for a little more than they should, but that's kind of how everything goes. Um, I just don't think you're going to get something at 1.4 that's going to equal this for you. But I've definitely been wrong once before, so we'll see how that turns out for the Padres. But I mean, it's another good piece for the Phillies, and they're slowly starting to build like a nice little squad over there. I haven't checked out his full roster, but I know with the guys I traded him and kind of the guys I see him pick up here and there, he's starting to put together a nice little team. And that's kind of it for the trade review in here for the week. Um, where was that trade at? I'd say probably the most interesting is some of the St. Louis and Baltimore trades and the Baltimore and Phillies trades. It's like I said, man, the Phillies are starting to put a lot of nice players together. So it's cool to see the team shape up. It's been another great year. I'm really sad I missed the last two. Sorry again for leaving, guys. My bad. But I thought that the World Series was looking super interesting. I'm psyched to see who wins this year. It's the first time winner either way. So good luck for both of you guys, and I'll catch you on either next week's or I don't know how often I'll come out with these, whether it be weekly in the off season or not. But oh shit, before it ends too, is we gotta figure out a way for the draft to be configured because I'll expand more in a future video. But I don't think our current configuration is optimal with just like whoever's the first team out getting the first pick. But that'll obviously be discussed in the future. And I would say if anybody wants to throw me any ideas my way that you want me to talk about, just kind of shoot them my way, and I'll kind of make these as I have things to talk about. But thanks for watching again, bros, and again, good luck in the World Series. Peace.